Hello and welcome to this short walkthrough for monitoring and optimization using the GCP Metrics Explorer pages. So I have this notebook pulled up, an environment already created, and let's just assume that I am an ambitious researcher who's found my way onto the All of Us Researcher Workbench, and I've completed all the trainings, and I'm ready to dive into the various data sets and learning how to use the platform. But if I don't have a lot of experience with cloud-based researcher platforms, then perhaps I won't know exactly how to best configure my environment. And let's say that I'm too ambitious to read the instructions or to read the recommended environment configuration. So as we can see, my environment does not match the recommended configuration. The recommended configuration here has 50 workers and 50 preemptibles, but I only have 2 workers and no preemptibles. So generally, my environment is much smaller than the recommended environment for this particular analysis. Now, moving forward, let's just go ahead and run through these initial import commands, set the path to our variant data set, and let's also just assume that I'm interested in performing genomic analysis on the variant data set in order to extract information on some rare variants that I'm interested in. But while I know that I want some rare variants throughout the genome, I'm not exactly sure if All of Us provides smaller call sets that might be more efficient for my filtering needs. So I'm just going to take the entire genome of the variant data set so I can filter it later into just those rare variants that I'm interested in. So I've set this test interval variable to be all chromosomes as opposed to just chromosome 1 and chromosome 16, that if you were working through this variant dataset tutorial, that's what your test interval would be. So if we set that and then we declare this filter function, we'll see that completes very quickly. This completed very quickly because Hail is lazy and it will only do computations if you force it to, either with a count function, as we see right here, or by saving some kind of file or writing data to a file. So running this command will force Hail to actually do this filter calculation using the interval that I've set above. So let's go ahead and do that. As we can see, it's not completing immediately because it's actually doing the filtering computations that we specified earlier. And we can also see that this is a rather large number. And although this will start to climb, it will not climb very quickly. This is because our environment is not very big. It's not optimized for this particular analysis. Now that doesn't mean that this command or later on analyses will not be able to complete on this small of an environment. It just means that more resources might allow these kind of commands or similar analyses to complete quicker. So how else can we understand what our environment is doing while large computations are running, or whether or not we're using our environment resources appropriately? Well, that's where the GCP Metrics Explorer pages come in. In order to find the Metrics Explorer pages, we can go to the Notebooks tab or the Analysis tab and go to the About tab. And then you'll see these links down here to Billing or File Management. Both of them will take you to different GCP pages, but from either of those GCP pages, we can get to the Metrics Explorer pages. So in the search bar up top, we'll type Metrics Explorer. This will come up. And this is the Metrics Explorer landing page. Now, the first thing I would do once you get to this page is enable auto refresh. This will allow any visuals to refresh automatically, allowing you to have a live visualization of your environment. Now, if we go to this metric selection bar, click Global, and the popular metrics, we'll see this. So let's go to VM. VM instance will have more options of popular metrics, and I find this CPU utilization visual to be one of the most helpful visuals. You also have a lot more options on the side to better visualize different aspects of your environment, but I don't really find these as helpful as the main default. Now my environment has been running for quite a while because I got distracted while I was updating, but now we can see that there is some activity occurring, and we can also scroll to highlight a particular section of activity. Now, some things that you should know about the Metrics Explorer page is that it will only update every 5 minutes, but while the auto refresh is enabled, it will automatically update. So that's great. I also zoomed in on a particular section, and to zoom back out again to see the full view or a number of different views of your environment activity, we can go to this menu, re-click it, and here's the last hour of activity. Now, as you can see, our activity is appearing to climb. The amount of our CPUs being utilized is increasing, which is good. That means that our environment is being put in use. We have something running, and that actual activity has not yet completed. So if we were to see 2% or this steady state amount of activity, which if you zoom in, it's not actually that linear, but if we zoom in, then we can see that 2.9%, that's about a normal amount of activity if there are no commands being run. Now zooming back out, we can see it's still starting to climb a little bit, which means something is happening. Our computer, our virtual machines are doing something. And that something is this command that we submitted. Now, what else can we use the Metrics Explorer page to determine? Well, if our CPU utilization is at 100% and it's just staying at 100%, that means you probably don't have enough CPUs for the task at hand, whether that's a series of commands or just one command. If you see your CPU utilization at 100% for quite a while, I would recommend increasing the amount of CPUs allocated to your environment. So that will allow the CPU utilization to drop, and whatever commands you're trying to complete, they will finish quicker. And that can actually not only save you time, but it can save you money, because sometimes if you spend a lot of money running a very large environment, but it completes quicker, that will be cheaper than running a very small environment for a longer amount of time. So it's a trade-off. And again, we always recommend that you start small and test from there, but you really should be utilizing the Metrics Explorer pages to better monitor and optimize your environment for your analysis needs. What else can we discern from this page? Well, again, close to 0% utilization means that nothing is currently happening. But if you see 0% utilization after a big peak of activity, that means that whatever you were running has completed. So if you are running something in the background and you happen to be logged into the Workbench, you can use these pages to see whether or not that command or that analysis being completed in the background has completed. Other helpful visualizations that you can use, if we go to VM instance, popular metrics, we can go to memory utilization, 20%. That's great, nothing has changed. We can also see whether or not things are being sent or received by our virtual machine. Yep, we're reading in some data, not very quickly, as we have transfer throttles in place for security reasons. Oh, we're already looking at that. And we can see that we are receiving a lot of bytes as well. 40 megabytes per second, around there, which again is not very fast because we have certain transfer throttles in place for security reasons. But depending on the exact commands you're running or the nature of your analysis, these Metrics Explorer pages are incredibly helpful to better understand what your environment is doing and how to better optimize your environment to meet your analysis needs. Thanks for watching.